There are two hits out on President Clinton, one from the ultra-right-wing fascists and the other from the Israeli Mossad. The American Nazi Party has merged with the KKK some time ago. In the 2008 election, the United Klan of Michigan put flyers on people's cars in New York saying that anyone that voted for Obama would be killed. This was in a black community where some blacks thought the KKK didn't exist anymore. Idaho is a known setting for militia camps, right-wing militia camps. The CIA under Allen Dulles, 1947, hired 4,000 Nazis to work for the CIA. And German General Master Spy Reinhard Gehlen, who landed in New York wearing a U.S. uniform, was Hitler's master spy against the Soviets. We handed him a check for $200 million, which he used to activate an army of spies in the Soviet Union to carry out Hitler's plan from 1943 to create a famine inside the Soviet Union to starve 40 million Soviets to death and enslave the rest. 1991, when Shabtai Shabbat was head of Mossad, the Israeli Mossad wanted to get rid of Gorbachev because they didn't want friendly relations with the U.S. because then we wouldn't need Israel as an ally anymore. So they made a deal through Vladimir Khrushchev, who died in Soviet Remand Center number 4, or Moscow prison, after he made a deal with Robert Maxwell on the Lady Ghislaine in the Mediterranean that Israel would give immediate political recognition to the new regime, give logistical aid in exchange for expulsion of all the Soviet Jews who wouldn't have any place to go but Israel, which needs population because the Arabs outnumber them, which is the reason they don't want one two-state solution, because they don't want equality. According to Ehud Barak, the ex-prime minister, they don't want one man, one vote because they'll be outvoted. So it's going to degenerate into an apartheid-like system, which it has. Meanwhile, the U.S. with Hillary Clinton and Obama has decided that we want to control the entire Mediterranean region. We want the Chinese out of Libya, who've invested in infrastructure, which we bombed back into the Stone Ages with NATO, which has gone beyond its charter to destroy the Soviet Union into creating puppet states for the U.S. Apparently, the idea is to control the oil in Libya, to not let the Chinese do it, and this AFRICOM movement that Bush has out, Bush created in his last year in office, out to get Gaddafi out of power because he was opposing the move into Africa, where China is going around building infrastructure in exchange for oil. China has 1.5 billion people, and the people are buying cars. They need oil, and China wants external sources. The U.S. apparently is trying to stop that, and Hillary especially is trying to get the Russians out of Syria, which is their only base in the Mediterranean, and Russia is a 1,000-year-old ally of Syria along with China, so they sure as hell don't want out of there, and they're talking about U.S. trying to blackmail them into pulling out observers out of Syria in exchange for them voting for a U.S. resolution. They have no intention of doing this, and They have, by the way, armed Iran with 11,000 rockets, which can shoot down 12 jets per rocket, SAMs, and Israelis don't want to lose all their planes, so they're buying stealth bombers from us. It appears the Lightning II from the Navy. And we've got aircraft carriers over there. I don't know what it's costing, but we must be borrowing the money from the Chinese. Meanwhile, we are working against the Chinese, trying to get them to stop buying oil from Iran. The Israeli Mossad went around Israel in 65, 66, blowing up things, making it look like Israel did it. When the Arabs got ready to attack Israel, they preemptively struck Egypt, took the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and then they lied to Jordan, told it that Egypt had conquered Israel. When Jordan sent troops into Israel, they took the West Bank. They're getting ready to do the same thing to Syria, to take the Golan Heights, when USS Liberty, our electronic surveillance ship, heard them and told them we heard them lying to Jordan. So Victor Ostrovsky, in his books on the Mossad, says that they got mad at us and they deliberately bombed and torpedoed the Liberty, killed 34 American sailors. This is the Israelis. McNamara says he didn't call back help from the Sixth Fleet, but apparently somebody did. Either the Israelis doctored his voice to make it seem like he did, or he did. He denies that he did. This almost started a nuclear war because there was a Russian sub off the coast of Israel at the time, ready to intervene, and we had the Sixth Fleet there in case Egypt invaded Israel. Israel had also blown up something in Egypt in 55, tried to make it look like we did it. At the time, that was exposed as a hoax, but they've been trying to get us to go to war with Egypt for a long time. Now Egypt has thrown out the Israeli embassy. 100% of the Egyptians hate America because they see Palestinian children killed every day on TV, killed by Israelis, and they know we support Israel. Noam Chomsky says that the U.S., when it bombed the Sudan's pharmaceutical plant under Clinton, that plant made medicines that killed diseases that animals got that people got. Millions of people died of those diseases, and bin Laden used that as an example why we don't care about Muslim people. Meanwhile, we support Israel, and Israel has taken the land from the Arabs in 67, which led to the Yom Kippur War in 73, which led to OPEC creation, which caused the rise of gasoline prices. And now the Israelis have us, along with Netanyahu, putting sanctions on Iran under the pretext that they're making nuclear weapons. And some people are saying China may have supplied nuclear weapons, but that would be insane if that were true, that there's going to be a nuclear war, that the West is planning a nuclear war. Meanwhile, Sadat was killed after he had a peace treaty with Israel, which the Mossad considered a weak peace treaty. They hired the Arab terrorists to kill him, according to Ostrovsky. Arafat was killed when it was feasible, according to Ostrovsky. He was popular, but you notice that when he went to Paris, he didn't live 2 weeks, and Ostrovsky reports they have undetectable poisons they make at Ionia, where they make chemical and biological weapons, nerve gas, sarin, and erase it from all their maps, including the satellite maps we give them. The Israelis have enough nuclear weapons to destroy the entire Mideast, and John F. Kennedy was the last U.S. president to try to inspect that plant at Dimona. They put Mordecai Nuno in prison for life for selling photos of the interior of the plant to the British. Those photos have been used to make a virtual tour, which you can find on YouTube if you Google Dimona. Now, according to some sources, Oswald was CIA, not communist. He refueled U-2 spy planes in the Sakhalin Islands that flew over Red China. I've got two sources on that, San Francisco Chronicle and a woman on the internet. They didn't give stupid people that job. He wasn't a patsy. He was a red baiter down south. He gave out pro-Castro pamphlets, and then they had the people that sympathized with Castro arrested. Either he had a double in the CIA, or he was CIA, or both, but he took his Marine manual. Two women testified, or two women saw him give a CIA agent his Marine manual and tell him that he wanted to kill Kennedy because Kennedy was too gutless to kill Castro, and he wanted to kill Castro. It doesn't sound like the work of a communist to me. An FBI tape of Carlos Marcello in prison from an informant in a radio in the guy's cell has Marcello claiming Oswald was in his pocket, that he was a communist, that Marcello used the Louisiana anti-Castro Cubans to convince Oswald that Castro wanted Kennedy dead, and that Oswald was a communist. I don't believe the story. I think, what's his name, Marcello is also trying to say that he had Jack Ruby in his pocket. Ruby, or Rubenstein, I'm hearing, was ordered by Mossad to kill Oswald, and that the Mossad killed 22 witnesses. Two of the shooters were behind the fence on the grassy knoll. Lee Bowers saw puffs of smoke coming from their rifles. He was later run off the road and killed, or he died after he says he was drugged at a restaurant up the road. You can find that report on YouTube. There's a book by Mark Lane, was the CIA involved in the JFK assassination, and when you put this together, you have Nazis merging with the right wing of the Republican Party, Nazis in the CIA. You have Nazi spies hired by the CIA in Europe in Operation Gladio, killing democratically elected leaders over there. You have General Galen starting the Cold War almost single-handedly by lying about the Soviets, saying they had 175 divisions battle ready to take over Europe, bomb the US and UK. You have the CIA saying Truman was soft on communism because he lost to Red China, getting Truman to invade Korea. You have the CIA killing Jack Kennedy because he's going to pull out of Vietnam, and then you have the rumor that Kennedy was killed because he tried to inspect the nuclear weapons plant at Dimona, and David Ben-Gurion ordered the hit, and that the Israelis used the American mob to do it. You also have George Herbert Walker Bush in the CIA in '61, in charge of the Bay of Pigs operation. You have him big friends with Allen Dulles, who Kennedy fired after the Bay of Pigs failed, and saying it was the dumbest thing he'd ever done, and which led to the Cuban Missile Crisis, which almost started a World War. So then you have Kennedy sign an executive order to pull out of Vietnam, dismantle the CIA in '63. The death of Kennedy in '63, where they're calling him a communist, and now they're calling Obama a communist. At least the Tea Party is, and the same kind of people that killed Kennedy. You might as well say the same kind of people that crucified Jesus or that killed Lincoln are after Obama. By the way, Obama's in the tradition going back to Lincoln and Martin Luther King, freeing the slaves and getting their voting rights, or the blacks getting their voting rights, excuse me. Thomas Jefferson said the slaves would have the vote one day. He was right. But they would never be happy here. These people are going to vote for Obama again, and Hillary is going to be his vice presidential running mate to get the Hispanic vote, apparently. When Biden should have been Secretary of State, they made Hillary. Hillary's almost got us into war with Korea twice. The Koreans wouldn't even be making nuclear weapons if we hadn't insulted them. By the way, Korea is more like what you think of as China than China. When Americans think of China, they're really mostly thinking of Korea. The Koreans fought the Japanese in World War II. They were enslaved by the Japanese. The Vietnamese helped us beat the Japanese in World War II. We turned around and betrayed the Vietnamese. Ho Chi Minh had allied with us under Roosevelt, and Churchill got Roosevelt to let him ally with us, even though he's a communist. And then we turned around and gave Vietnam back to the French colonialists, which he was fighting. We lost 58,000 guys over there for nothing. So that was the most divisive war since the Civil War. It was a racist war, killing non-white people over there when blacks and whites couldn't live in the same neighborhoods over here. They're dying in the same battlefields over there. America is a divided country. Washington warned about the party factions fanning the flames of division. You have Israeli spies, top spies here under deep cover, blackmailing Congress, buying congressmen, bribing and coercing Congress to give Israel $3 billion in cash every January, no oversight. When Bush Sr. Froze this money in '91, they were going to kill Bush Sr. That was stopped by the CIA after Ostrovsky and McCloskey went to the CIA. But between Kennedy, Bush Sr., and Obama, it means that Netanyahu has had to sign off on this hit, because he has to sign off on every hit when he comes in office. Obama has said he wants to go back to the '67 borders with land swaps. By the way, Netanyahu had ordered, or Mossad, ordered the hit on Yitzhak Rabin, internal security, Shabak, killed Yitzhak Rabin, who was succeeding in getting peace talks going with the Arabs. Mossad is greedy, lazy, selfish, conceited, extremely right-wing, has gone over the line, is now fascist. Wouldn't put it past them to use the KKK or the American Nazi Party to do their dirty work. If it's true that Ben-Gurion had the mob kill Kennedy, and by the way, Carlos Marcello was deported to Guatemala by Bobby. Bobby couldn't stop John from getting killed. There's really no way to stop an assassination if someone's dead set on killing you. They killed Martin Luther King, they killed Bobby, they killed John, and they did it in broad daylight. Of course, the Bobby was killed by an Arab who didn't want him giving Israel fighter jets, which he said he was going to do, which was a big mistake to say in public. Be that as it may, the Secret Service was not protecting Bobby Kennedy as they would now. They would have surrounded him going through the kitchen and all that crap. But Secret Service doesn't really doesn't have the deep knowledge of what's really going on. They just react on the surface. You know, they're there for the immediate, for the crowd to stop any kind of attempt during that thing. They don't have the big picture. And when you tell them something, they don't really come and interview you and try to get the big picture. The FBI wasn't checking out stories. They want you to come in so they can polygraph you. They had information on 911. They didn't really, unless someone told them exactly when and where it was going to happen, they weren't going to do anything. And that's pretty much the way it is. So the word is out in the streets that the right wing wants to kill Obama, the fascists want to kill Obama, you might as well say the Mossad is fascist, and Netanyahu is a liar, saying that the Iranians are going to nuke New York, when Russian TV is saying that the Israelis might do it themselves and say Iran did it. But meanwhile, we've got 900 bases overseas we can't afford, costing $1 trillion a year. We're not a military dictatorship, but we're acting like one, and we are masquerading as a democracy while we're going out killing people. Bush Sr. said we weren't going to assassinate political leaders anymore. We just assassinated Gaddafi with drones and boots on the ground over in Libya. NATO's charter should be destroyed, because NATO was created to destroy the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist anymore. Its mission is over. George Washington warned against a permanent military alliance, especially with European powers. That's exactly. NATO was the first permanent military alliance with European powers in 1949. So if you want to go back to the founding fathers, you pay down the debt in peacetime that you incurred during war. You go to Eisenhower's farewell address. You don't need a big peacetime military budget. We should be at peace. We should not be favoring or disfavoring any nation. So it's in Washington's farewell address. We should not be favoring China or Israel, and should not be disfavoring Russia, Cuba. Kennedy was going to drop the blockade on Cuba the day he was shot, normalize trade. Hillary says they're not ready. I'd have to ask, who is Hillary Clinton? Has she ever been president of the United States? No. Bill Clinton got her the job as Secretary of State. She does not deserve the job. She's a silly woman. She's sterile. She's getting to look like an old witch. She looks like she needs hormone therapy, and she's getting to look worse and worse every day. I would say by the time of the election, it'd be wonder if she would be, if she were vice president. I can't imagine it. She doesn't deserve the job, people. If you want to elect someone president, write me in. I'm the masterless master. Enough for now.